Those of you who've examined my profile will see that I've called this channel a Reviews of Weird Stuff Repository, and it's a promise I intend to fulfill, as you'll find out. Now, before I begin, you'll notice that I've taken down the video where I commented on the upcoming Supreme Commander 2 game. I did this mainly because there were some idiots who were either misinterpreting my opinions or making rude remarks about what they thought my sexuality was. More about my sexuality later, though. I took it down because it's no longer applicable anyway. I was criticising the website and they've changed most of it, so, well, whatever. Enough about that. Today I'm going to review a book I picked up the other day from a library sale, and it was only £1, so I thought, what the hell, I might as well buy it anyway. The book is called Witch Guide to Crushes. it was either this or one of those Warhammer 40,000 novels. I'll confess that I picked this. I picked this up because I thought I'd get a laugh or two out of it. I was a little surprised because it's not that bad, to be honest. I hate to admit it's not that bad. It's certainly not as bad as I expected it to be, but it does have its moments. It can be a bit offensive, I think, in places, but I'll talk about that later. Okay. Now, obviously, me being male and being the wrong side of 30, I'm afraid I don't know much about this witch franchise. I think it's one of Disney's things. I don't know. I've had a look at the Wikipedia entry and I can't say I'm much the wiser now. But it seems to be a bit like Captain Planet, except that there's no Captain Planet in it, and the heroes are trying to save the environment. It's about these 5 girls whose initials together make up the titular witch, and each one has an elemental power. You know, the 4 elements plus heart. What kind of power is heart anyway? and there's some magical barrier or something that keeps out evil, but it doesn't matter because that isn't what this book is about. Now, these girls who are in this team are, I assume, somewhere between 13 and 16 years old because they're still at school, and in this book they're talking about their crushes on boys. Yes. Most of the book is laid out in either script or diary form, and it's basically a guide to handling crushes. Well, they use the term crushes. I think they mean relationships because they obviously have to be careful what they're saying nowadays. The scripts are a bit confusing because there's all these characters and I don't know anything about them at all, but fortunately there's a picture on the back, so at least I can put a face to who's doing the talking. There's nothing about sexual relationships or kissing or anything like that. I mean, there's no mention of it at all. I would have thought it would have warranted at least a passing comment, but whatever. Yes, most of it's just girly banter. Obviously, it's not really my thing. It's got the odd bit of advice thrown in about attracting boys, surviving dates, and coping with jealousy, all that kind of thing. But obviously, being a member of Generation X, in some ways, I can't say if this advice is likely to work or not. I mean, I think most of it's just common sense, really. But then, what's common sense to me might not be common sense to a 14-year-old. I mean, it says in one part that if you want to impress a boy who likes high-tech stuff, you should send him an email. And well, obviously, when I was their age, the internet was still very much in its infancy, and that would probably have worked better then than it would have now. Now everyone's got it, but yeah, most of it's fairly good, I suppose. I don't think there's anything really objectionable until right at the end. there are a couple of quizzes in there, and there's this one quiz that I didn't like too much. It says, quote, answer the questions to find out whether the boy of your dreams is a Prince Charming or a frog. It's multiple choice, and you have to pick from A to D, and your answers tally up to the final score. You know how these things work. You've probably seen some in magazines somewhere. Now, there's this one question. It says, you have similar tastes, especially when it comes to, and the answers are A, ideas. You view the world in the same way. B, music and movies. C, clothes. Or D, nothing. You're total opposites. Now, the relationships I have had in them have been few and far between, mostly out of choice, but I do have some degree of experience, and personally I do think there's far too much emphasis on this idea that to have a successful relationship with a member of the opposite sex, you have to have all the same ideas and all the same interests and stuff. I mean, I can't really relate to that. I mean, my most successful and enduring relationship was one where, well, yeah, I had a girlfriend who was almost the complete opposite of myself, even physically. I was a foot taller than she was, yet she was actually a stone heavier, so if you can try and picture that in your mind. I like games and books, I still do, I suppose, and she'd go to live gigs at these weird ecological parks. Well, I thought they were pretty good when I went. Yes, she did drag me along too, but none of this ever caused us any problems. I mean, we both accommodated each other's interests. We compromised. There was no problem. But according to this quiz here, having different interests makes me slimy. Yes, slimy. That's what it says. Which is something I found quite offensive. I think I read something on Stephen Bond's website once. He's the author of the interactive fiction novel Ramses. He wrote an article about his experiences with online dating, and I think he said he'd be scared of the kind of woman that had the same interests as he did, and I agree with that completely. I mean, there's sort of something about wanting someone who's exactly the same as yourself that strikes me as being a bit narcissistic. I mean, personally, I prefer someone who brings something new and different to the table. You know what I mean. You know, variety's the spice of life, as they say. Anyway, on the next page we've got the signs of whether a boy likes you or not, and I think this is a bit overly simplistic. For example, it says, he doesn't like you if his body language reveals a closed attitude towards you, arms folded and leaning away from you, if he avoids making physical contact with you, and if he avoids eye contact with you, sorry, I'll say that again, eye contact with you. I don't agree with that at all. Which is certainly someone who doesn't like you might do these things, but on the other hand, just because someone does doesn't mean that they don't like you. For instance, a shy person would probably tend to avoid eye contact as a matter of course with everyone. But someone could still be shy and still like you. I mean, it's not really hard to imagine, is it? And actually, I noticed something that I just noticed that they've slipped up a bit here, because it says, do you often find yourself wondering whether he really loves you? I'm surprised they left that one in. I mean, I'd have thought they'd have said likes you or something. In fact, yes, that would have been a better word to use, because you don't really love someone until you get to know them fully. So yeah, like would have been a much more accurate word. And again, there's this idea that you have to have a lot in common with your potential partner to be in love with them. Which, as I've said, I don't really agree with that. And I mean, if you're the sort of person who's likely to be turned off by someone who doesn't happen to have the same interests as you, then you really, I think you really need to get over yourself. Yeah, yes, and oh, on the last page, you, there's a picture of some dodgy-looking guys who I assume are the witch's boyfriends. Like I said, uh, I don't know that much about it. There's one here on the far right. He looks like he's fallen out of a tree and hit every branch on the way down. Maybe he has. I don't know. Well, whatever. I won't say any more. Score. Hard to rate for obvious reasons. But I'd say about 5 out of 10. I think, possibly 6 if I was feeling generous. I don't know. Maybe I should have bought the 40k book instead. Oh well.